Okay, welcome in, everybody. And I'm not sure I like this camera situation. Hey, 1, 2. Hey, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Check. Okay. See, you can't quite see. You can't quite see the TV screen behind me because my big old head is in the way. Okay. I don't like this. I don't think that there's a way. Okay. We're going to do it this way. Okay. We're going to do it this way, and we're not going to worry about the 4K camera or any of that business. Because ultimately, I think this is better. All right, how's everybody doing? Sorry for that technical thing. Hello, Gabino. Thank you, Super Chicken. Right. This is not the live event that I've been plugging on my latest videos. That's on Friday the 7th. This is just me on a Sunday night. Doing just killing the last couple hours of the evening before I then am forced to retire to bed. Let me make one little. Why? Why does that happen? Okay, whatever. Do. Mills Lane says, Can you me get my followers? Not sure what you're saying. Are you saying can you get my followers up? I don't know, man. I'm not that popular. I talk about one specific event in history. Cast strap up. What is this? Believe it or not, MXL. It's like $150 microphone, but it does okay for the little bit that I do. I have other microphones. I should break out the Elvis mic. That would be super interesting. You know what? I may do it. I may pause and go get the Elvis mic. V Girl 99156. Thank you. I hope we learned something new too. I have my doubts. Hello to South Africa. I I'm really glad that you enjoy me talking about JFK. Phil, gonna get an RE320 or RE20? Now the R20, the RE20 is the big one, right? That's the old radio microphone from 60s and 70s, and they still make them. The 320 may be the updated version. I talk like I'm an audio engineer because I am. Jackie Bouvier Kennedy. Everybody do me a favor and go follow my. I've never met Jackie Bouvier Kennedy, but they post a lot of Kennedy content. I don't personally, um, personally, what Jackie's doing and others like them are doing edits, and so it's. I'm not talking head. What Jackie Bouvier Kennedy is doing is a little bit more artistic, I would say. So anyway, that person is in the chat. You should give them a follow, especially you, Kimberly Minnie, if you're completely enthralled by JFK. Follow my friend there. Kimberly, I'll look for it. I have hundreds of messages to look through, but I will have a look. Anyway, what I was saying was, and thanks to everybody for joining, and please double tap the screen and send likes. That helps TikTok know that we're in here. And, maybe more people stop by. I have been promoting February 7th as. I'm okay. No, don't get me distracted. I'm not talking about RFK Jr. on this live. What we're talking about is the executive order to release the JFK files, and that is what all my content has been about in the last week or so, 9 days since the executive order happened. And some people misunderstand, and I have tried to thank you, mother boss, for the heart me. I've tried to be upfront with everyone to say that the executive order said 15 days for a plan for JFK files and 45 days for a plan for RFK and MLK files. And the whole thing is about Friday is M1 the boss? Thank you. Of course, if I had just read it, that would have made sense. Will the CIA comply with the executive order? And that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're going to see in 7 days. So there are plenty of files already released. If you haven't been reading all along, you're behind and need to catch up. And you should go to the National Archives website, and there's, it's grouped by in the last 4 years. There was a 2023 release, 2022, 2021, 2017 was a big one in the Trump's first term, and so now there's about 3,700 documents left. That's what we're talking about, and I think that there is enough of an interpretive loophole in the executive order that the CIA could say, well, he said JFK files. He didn't say all the CIA files from 1963 and 1964. These aren't related to Kennedy, so we're not going to release these, which would be a tremendous disservice to the whole, to the American people. But the CIA has weaseled out of it every year for the last 62 years. What makes us think that it's going to be any different? Jackie, no, I don't think Roche Jeremy shows up. And it's only. Here's the thing. We know a lot of what the 3,700 documents are. And you should get on Substack and follow JFK Facts, by the way. That guy, Jefferson Morley, is by far the best, most experienced, most prolific, most trustworthy researcher. Like, I'm just a dude. That guy has got actual credentials. Thank you, Dan. So I'd go to Substack and I'd follow him. But for example, we know of the 3,700 documents what one of the major files is that we need to see, and that's the George Joanides file. George Joanides was in charge of CIA covert operations in Miami, and was specifically tasked with surveilling Lee Harvey Oswald in 1963, prior to the assassination. Like he didn't just suddenly come out of nowhere. This crazy dude who was mad at Kennedy and mad at the world, and that's why he decided to take a pot shot in broad daylight. No. The CIA had monitored Oswald for at least 4 or 5 years prior to November 22nd, 1963. But the way that we'll know if the CIA is being forthcoming is the George Joanides file should be among those files that are released. Chris, you know what? I can't do it. I'm streaming through OBS, so I'm streaming live to the tube of you as well. And so I can't bring people into the box the way that normally I would in this particular situation here. And I'm still perfecting this whole situation. What I really wanted to do was be able to show pictures in the background, and so I have a recording studio in my house. It's a bit of a hobby, trade for me for the last 3 years. Thank you, Lane. And a lot of people are fascinated with it. And I had this extra TV and the TV stand and the side computer over here, and I can flip through the pictures. Maybe I can flip through the pictures. Maybe I can pay. I was flipping through the pictures. What happened now? Oh, it won't do it while it's zoomed out. What about now? Okay. What about now? Okay. So, for example, this is a picture from the 6th floor of the school book depository. And I took this picture on my trip to Dallas in December. And I really need to play with the TV settings, but you get the idea. Hard to see. So this is Jack Ruby's hat, and it's there in the museum. Good. I'm happy if you could. I should look at my other phone to see how it's coming through, because I am watching myself. Yeah, so that's Jack Ruby's hat. Joseph Citizen 56. I've heard that. I have not gone down that path. But that's not the first I've seen that. I haven't, Phil, I have not been to the MLK Museum in Memphis. That is certainly on the list. Would love to do that. Okay. Anyway, 1 week. 1 week until we see um, what the CIA and the ONI um, come back with in terms of a plan. That's all that I'm hoping to see. I'm not setting my expectations any higher than that. I'd be happy if they came back with a plan. And to be clear, that plan could be anything. Lefty, is there any weight to the driver behaving anything to do or having anything to do with? No. Yeah, okay. No. The driver has been and should be criticized for taking his foot off the gas. Plenty of witnesses said that the limousine came to a full stop. Nobody, you know, the Zapruder film does not show that. Then you can argue that uh, frames have been cut out of the Zapruder film, and I don't personally subscribe to that, but some people do. And the idea that the driver was in on it in any way and slowed down the limo so that multiple shooters, or perhaps the shooter behind the picket fence, would have time. No, I there's no evidence that William Greer, the driver of the limo, was a part of any conspiracy and that his job was to slow down the limo. That is nonsense. Nonsense. The CIA or the Secret Service did plenty of things wrong that day. First of all, they never should have made that left turn in the first place, because that's the thing that forced them to slow down to 11 miles an hour. If you're going 11 miles an hour and mindful of the people that are on either side of the street and all that, and then you hear a shot, it would seem like it would be a natural thing to, no matter what your training had been, to like want to like take your foot off the gas. And you can see in the Zapruder film, Greer turns around twice to look back before he finally, puts the hammer down and speeds the limo out of there. But there's no evidence to suggest that he was part of any plot. And in fact, he stayed in the Secret Service for 3 or 4 more years before ultimately retiring. He ultimately apologized to Jackie. He felt remorse until the end of his days. He felt bad about the whole thing, and he retired from the Secret Service early, but after serving 3 more years. Of course, this is the suit worn by Dallas detective Jim Lavelle, and this is the suit. This is on display in the Sixth Floor Museum, and that's pretty awesome because he's in that famous picture, and those may be the original handcuffs as part of that display. Also, the handcuffs that Oswald was wearing. But man, oh man, imagine being like that close to the whole thing. It even includes the Stetson hat. Steve evolved. No, you don't. You don't have to just accept that Lee Harvey got lucky that day. There are. I think it's possible that. I think it's likely that there were more than 3 shots, including a couple that were simultaneous. Think about it. If you go to like a military ceremony, and whether it's a funeral or whatever, and there's a 21 gun salute, and it's 7 Marines or whatever with the parade rifles, and there's 7 of them, and with under an order, the the captain will say, drill instructor will say, ready, aim, fire, and 7 people shoot one time, and you hear one sound. It's that precise. It's not bang, 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 bang all over the place. It's ready, and then ready, and 3 times. They have fired 7 rifles 3 times, and what you heard was 3 shots. And so, yeah, no, the whole reason why the Warren Commission wants to pin it on Oswald so bad is because they only found 3 shell casings right there in the window, even though whoever it was being there in the window doesn't make any sense unless there is a conspiracy. Then it makes sense. But they only find 3 shell casings, and so, okay, well, this is it. This is what we need. Whoops, the first shot must have missed. Okay, great. Now we have 2 bullets left. Okay. Well, we know the 3rd bullet was the fatal head wound. So, okay, we got 1 bullet left. We have to figure out how to make it make sense to have caused 7 other wounds and then bounce out of the guy's leg. And not just bounce out of his leg, leave a piece of shrapnel in the leg, and then work its way out through the hole in his pants so that it falls out on a stretcher. Yeah, we have lots of experts in the comments who like to talk about, velocity and yaw and FPS and all of these things, but don't like to talk about the very bullets that they're talking about bouncing back out of flesh. We know that is not how bullets work. And so that aspect alone of the magic bullet theory is enough to make you throw the whole thing out. It's not the only thing. It's just one of the things. Some people will say, I have, oh, hey, Jeff from TikTok Success. Thanks for joining. There's a lot of people interested in this topic, and there are different directions that you go, and a lot of people focus on, could Oswald have done the shooting? Could the rifle itself have done the shooting? Could the bullets themselves have done the damage? How did the bullets behave? So I do get experts that come back and say, well, okay, the bullet passed all the way through JFK, even though they could not feel, a passage. They probed the back wound of Kennedy with a finger, and it didn't go anywhere. And they found no bullet in his back. Okay, so it must have gone all the way through his neck, and that he must have been, leaned over in just the proper way for it to then go through Connolly's back. And a lot of people say, okay, at that point, the bullet's already getting ready to tumble and yaw, whatever. Connolly's got a 2-inch scar on his back, so they're like, clearly it was already tumbling because Connolly's got it's sideways. The scar on his back is sideways, so the bullet went into Connolly sideways. Well, great, except it must have straightened out somewhere in there, because then it goes straight through his wrist and then across his body over to the left thigh. So, okay, so all they got is bullets do weird things. I mean, the ballistic analysis sort of breaks down at that point. 3 shell casings, can't be more than 3 shots if there's only 3 shell casings. I just I just don't buy it. Okay, when you go to the museum, the sniper's nest is behind glass. So this is my picture of that. This is the southeast corner of the Texas School Book Depository. And I actually, this is from like 15 feet away. I had this up here a minute ago. A little bit closer shot. But anyway. And this is the view out of the window that is right next to the sniper's nest. So it's not the actual window, but it gives you a good idea of what looking down through those windows would have looked like. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. I just followed you the other night when I found you for the first time, so we're going to talk. But, you know, the glass, this is 1963 glass, and so it's got age, and it's not very clear at all. The area of the sniper's nest is pretty small. Oswald, or whoever it was, would have had to be sitting or kneeling. Okay, here's me behind the picket fence. Ugh. Pardon me, I gotta. Okay. Picket fence, one of the first places I went when I got there. That picket fence is actually not as long as you think, and the actual boards have been replaced 7 or 8 times since '63. Maybe once a decade or something. But this is the area where everybody that was down on the street level came running to, and they were all back here in the parking lot behind this fence looking for people. And this is where the railroad workers saw the puff of smoke. There is graffiti on there, but this is new graffiti, within the last 5 or 6 years probably. So that's just the very corner. But this is the view from the corner of Elm Street. How does that look? Okay, sorry. I gotta play with the resolution on the TV to make that better. Vivid? How's vivid? No, that's worse. Standard. That's worse. Okay. Clearly something I should have done ahead of time. Well, if you're sitting right here with me, it would look good. This was pretty interesting. Man. Maybe less backlight. Does that help? Helps a little bit. Yeah, that helps a little bit. Do you see this sign? This sign is in the museum. This sign is the actual sign that was on the airport stairs that Jackie used. This is her right here. This is a photo of that day. She's wearing the pink suit. This is Jackie getting on the Air Force One. And this picture in the museum is so large it takes up a whole wall because that airline sign is in there, and so for perspective, they made that picture big to make it match the plane. Yeah, that helps a little bit. Okay. Thanks for sharing the live, White Wolf. Thanks to everybody for, let's see, let's double tap the screen for me a few times. And let's get some more people in here. Yeah. Jeff, the problem with my lives is that I just decide to do one, and I come downstairs and I don't do my homework ahead of time. This is the corner of the 6th floor that is opposite the sniper's nest. This is the staircase that Oswald escaped from. And these boxes, while not being the original boxes, these boxes are fairly representative of how the boxes were arranged on that day. We know this because this is pretty much what they looked like when they found the Mannlicher Carcano. So Oswald fires the last shot, right? Now he's got 90 seconds. It's 12:30 p.m. He's got 90 seconds to run across the floor and hide the rifle in between these boxes. Okay? And then sprint, I guess, down 6 flights of stairs with nobody seeing him, and running into the lunchroom and buying a Coke at the exact moment that Roy Truly, the building supervisor, and Marion Baker, the motorcycle officer, burst into the lunchroom. Oswald's not out of breath. He doesn't look excited. He looks a little bit like, what are you doing? As described. But anyway, it's just really sort of overwhelming to be in this place where these events happened. Call it a pilgrimage. It was, in fact, a pilgrimage. I spent 2 years. The whole reason I started the TikTok account was 2 years ago to make this trip to Dallas, and I finally made it in December of last year. So Oswald, I'm skipping some stuff, but Oswald ultimately leaves the Texas School Book Depository, goes to his rooming house, puts on his jacket, hello, Bo, and picks up his revolver, and he's on foot now. He's walking in the Oak Cliff neighborhood. Back hurts already. And he goes to the Texas Theater. The Texas Theater is still in operation today. They do show movies and they have other special events. And so I'm on this tour, right, with my bud, and he was like, let's just knock. It's middle of the afternoon. They're not open. Let's just knock and see who's there. And somebody answered. I couldn't believe it. What a stroke of luck we had. Well, so my friend starts explaining that I've got, this is JFK 60 years later. He's got 170,000 followers on TikTok. He's only in town for the afternoon. Can we please, get a look inside? And I agreed to not film it. So I had been filming our walk down the sidewalk until we got to that point. But when we got in the theater, they were so nice to accommodate us, and they actually let us in. And I nowhere along the way had I considered that I would get all the way inside. Maybe we'll walk by it and I'll get a nice picture of the outside. That we would, with some luck and a bunch of fast talking, make our way inside the Texas Theater. Now, if you live in Dallas, you can go there and you can buy a ticket and, go see a show there. But when you don't live in Dallas, like I do not, the idea of one day making it to Dallas, but then also making it inside the Texas Theater, that's pretty amazing. So this is what it looks like today, and this picture is taken from the back of the room, and there's like it seats. There's a balcony to it. It's with 6 or 7. Thank you, Tad Sturmer. 600 or 700 seats in here. So, and that leads me to probably one of my favorite things to talk about. But first, I just have to say, you can't actually have. They were so gracious, the owner and the person we were talking to, let us take a picture. And so I got a picture in the approximate. It's not the exact. The approximate row that Lee Harvey Oswald was sitting in when he was arrested. Okay, there it is. Holy smokes. Let's see if I'd make that bigger. Hang on. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Just so you know, I'm streaming with OBS, and so that means the comments the actual stream on TikTok is lagging behind a few seconds, and that's why it looks like I'm not responding to the chat very well. Trey9420 says, what sparked your interest in the research about the event? And I have to say, my dad did when I was I was a kid when my dad introduced me to, a young teenager when my dad introduced me to the topic, and I read everything I could get my hands on my entire life. And Jeff is got a beef with the Navy apparently, and Bo. Okay, quick. I don't do math. He was 24 in 1963, and that was 62 years ago. So you'd have to say 86, I guess. Somebody check me on that. Andrew Whipkey, can I ask a question? Yes, if you can get it in 240 characters. If that's the question, what do I think? Okay, loaded topic. What do you think of Judith Vary Baker? I am not sitting even in the right place. What if I scoot like this? Judith Vary Baker. She is alive and well. She hosts a JFK conference or Lee Harvey Oswald conference, depending on how you look at it, every year in Dallas. And she tells a compelling story, and I really, really want to believe her. And she even follows me on Twitter, even though there's a bunch of stuff here. I deleted Twitter from my phone, but when I was looking at Twitter, she was following me. We don't talk. I'm just, she's aware that I'm loosely related to the research. So Judith Vary Baker, like, her whole thing was that she, in New Orleans in the summer of 1963, she and Lee Harvey Oswald were being used as tools by the CIA for some covert experiments and operations and other funny business. And that they met and fell in love, and that she had an affair with him the summer of 63, and she was very sad when he moved back to Dallas. And her whole thing is that she believes that Lee Harvey became aware of the plot and was trying to stop it, not be a part of it. That's her thing. Oh, okay. It's pivoting from topic to topic. How many days until they come up with a plan to open the files? Okay, February 6th or February 7th, depending on how you're counting. 15 days is up on February 6th, February 7th. Yes, Trey is. Oh, Judith Very Baker's. That story is not new. She's on The Men Who Killed Kennedy. Jeff, what am I looking forward to most once the files are opened? Okay, Jeff, you asked a very serious question. I'm going to give you a very serious answer. What we're looking for with the files to be, well, first of all, on day 15, what kind of plan do they have? Because let's face it, the executive order just asked for a plan. That's all it specified. And so at the end of 15 days, we'll see if they come back with a plan. That plan could, let's face it, be, here's everything. Here's all the files all at once. We're done. Somehow I don't think it's that easy. The plan could also be, there's 3,700 documents. We're going to give you 50 a week for the next 10 years. The plan could also be 3,700 documents. Here's 1,500 of them, but these others, the other 2,200, for whatever reason, you can't see those. Any of those things could be the plan, so that we're clear. Right. And furthermore, Jeff, since you asked, and everybody else, we already know. I mean, this is 13 million pages that have been gradually being released since the JFK Records Act of 1992. Okay, so we're clear. We've been doing this a while, and we're down to 3,700 files. And we know what's in some of those 3,700 files. For example, and if you go back a few videos on my timeline, what we're waiting to see, number one, the closest thing that there may be to a smoking GUN is the George Joannides file. And I encourage you to go Google him. We know that the George Joannides file is among those that have not been declassified. And we're very interested in that specific file. And the way that we'll know if the CIA is forthcoming or not is if in whatever release they do, the George Joannides file is included. Okay? George Joannides, his file, 44 classified documents that we need to see. George Joannides, we already know, was head of CIA covert operations in Miami, and in 1963 had agents working for him whose job it was to surveil Lee Harvey Oswald in New Orleans and Dallas prior to November 22nd, 1963. Think about this. What if the CIA knew that Oswald was up to something, if it was really him, or whether they put him up to it? The CIA had foreknowledge of Oswald, period, full stop. And Joannides, okay, Luann, sorry, here we go. George Joannides, that's Joannides. I don't know why I don't just put it in the dadgum chat. Everybody, when you're posting, we want to post and repost and share and tweet and whatever else you do. The George Joannides file. Okay, that did not work. I don't know what's up with that. Because I'm on OBS, that's why. Okay, George Joannides. I have, it's a hashtag in some of my earlier videos, Luann. Oswald's phone call. Love it. Love it. Yeah, Jeff, I hope you can explain the algorithm to me. I know that I don't sing or dance or post cat videos, but I had every time I post something about Lyndon B. Johnson and J. Edgar Hoover on the phone together uh, the day after the assassination, the world loses their minds like they've never heard a recorded phone call with LBJ. But that those videos tend to do better than anything else that I put up. I don't know. I lost track of where I was. Thank you, Jen Long. Thank you for following new follower David S.C. Grad. James Files and Charles Nicoletti angle, maybe. I was talking about something else. James Files tells a compelling story. That I will admit. Okay, well, I had started to talk about something else. Okay, well, I was talking about what we're going to see in the files whenever they do release them, and we're going to find out about that plan on Friday. Okay. So here's the west end of Dealey Plaza. This is the triple overpass that the railroad cars pass over. And right over there on that side, so the south side of, I think that's Commerce. This is Elm, Main, Commerce. I may not have that wrong. And also, I can't point. There, right there, is where James Tague was standing when he got hit by a piece of concrete. Yards out in front of where the limousine was. And, that's why we know that one of the shots, however many there were, one of the shots definitely missed the limo completely because it struck a piece of curb, and that piece of curb is in the National Archives. Noda, yeah, welcome in. Tap, tap, everybody. Okay, we're cooking now with 174 people in here. Let me just stop and take a second. One of the pinned videos, the first pinned video on my channel, it has got a registration for the live event for Friday, February 7th at 7 p.m. That is, whatever happens, we're going to see what plan is brought back to the White House for releasing the JFK files. I want to be clear. I don't think we're going to see any files in a week. I might be wrong. I'd love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong. But what the executive order really does is order a plan. And I think this is what we're going to be looking at on Friday, February 7th. Did the CIA weasel out of it? Or have they given us an actual plan? Peter James, welcome. I'm not that optimistic. This is not a political rant. But in 2017, Trump presided over perhaps one of the biggest document drops in the history of the JFK Records Act that goes all the way back to 1992. Okay, it was already the law. Every president since 1992 has been obligated to release JFK documents, or at least speed it up. Every president since George H.W. Bush signed that act of Congress into law. And it said, instead of the files being sealed away until 2035, start releasing them now and speed it up. So files have been released every year since then. Fast forward to 2017, and then President 45, Trump, kicks it in the butt a little bit And they dump a bunch of documents in 2017. But then at the end, at the very end, we did not get everything. At the very end, guess who stopped him? The CIA. Mike Pompeo comes to Trump and says, please don't do this. This would be bad. And so he stops. And so he does not release everything, despite having campaigned on it in the first term. Joe Biden releases documents in 21, 22, 23, and then finally passes the buck back to the CIA and says, okay, the CIA is now in charge of deciding what files should be released. It's the most, it's beyond parody. So now it was not as big of a campaign item, but it was definitely a campaign item. Trump 47 said, I'm going to release everything. And not just JFK, also RFK and MLK, even though those files aren't actually a part of the JFK Records Act. It's still in the national interest, so you have 45 days for that plan. This is why I'm skeptical. It doesn't have anything to do with Trump's intent. It has to do with the CIA not playing ball. Because they just, for the good of the country, for the sake of national security, we can't release these. We're not going to release these. That's what Friday is all about. On my profile and in the first pinned video, links to the event. I would love for you to sign up. Truth is, we'll probably be able to squeeze you in anyway. And it could be that what we'll be doing on Friday the 7th is looking and realizing that they've laid out a plan that includes not releasing all the documents. This dirty face. Was Ruth Payne involved in any meaningful way? Well, she had all kinds of connections to the CIA. I think that the reason why they have not declassified Ruth Payne's tax returns from 1963 is because of some involvement, trying to protect her, or that, according to them, that she's 80 plus now herself. So the argument has been for a lot of these, okay, well, this could bring possible harm to people who are still with us. And Ruth Payne, to her credit, must be getting tired of saying the same thing over and over again, or has become so used to saying it that she just believes it herself, by this point. But she was instrumental in, if not, okay, I'm just saying, a lot of the evidence, so-called evidence against Oswald, came out of the Payne household, and that included handwritten notes and these pictures from the backyard, and all that's like Ruth Payne produced all of this. She makes a call to get Oswald the job in the Texas School Book Depository, and then when the employment agency that Oswald had visited calls the house and says, hey, we got a job, it's better paying, and it's a better job, she doesn't tell Oswald about that and lets him sit at $1.25 in the Texas School Book Depository. That's suspect, right? Thank you. You're welcome. Bo, I did not know your family knew her. How have you been on my channel this long and not mentioned that? Bo, are you connected to the CIA, man? Are you in the secret files? Tell me right now, because there's a few things I need to ask you if that's the case. Just kidding. Just kidding. We have fun. I do love Ugh. Okay, this is as good as it gets, probably. Okay. I've really got to figure out a better way to do this. Okay. That's me standing on Elm Street. Heck with it. I do love one of the things that is inherent to this channel and this content is that uh, when you look at the analytics, and if Jeff, if you're still here, I'm all about the analytics. I'm constantly looking at those. And I've seen a pretty consistent pattern in the last 2 years. My viewers are predominantly males over 40. It's like 70-30, like 70% male and like 60% 40 and over. In other words, dudes like me. But occasionally I do hear from people. It's great that what the community does, what this channel does, is a good thing. You get a chance to be a part of the conversation. Now, obviously, I cannot respond to every message that I get, every private message that I get, every comment made on every video, and everything even put in a chat and a live. I can't keep up. But you do at least get to leave a comment, and some of you were actually pretty close to the situation. For example, Bo, I don't have any reason to doubt that his family knew Ruth Payne, lives in Dallas. Okay. And there are others who live in Dallas or did it that day, and they have a personal connection in some kind of way to the case. One of the witnesses was a family member. One of the Dallas police was a family member, and they have personal stories, and they heard their version of the story from that witness, that firsthand witness there, and then they share that with me, and I have learned things directly from people that I had no idea about. One, including one of those was the Nick Beef story, and I've got a video about it, but I'll just tell you quickly. Where Oswald is buried in Fort Worth, he's got a very simple headstone now. He had a very ornate headstone that his mother had ordered for him, but then it was stolen, and then they turned around and recovered it, I think. But in any case, they're like, well, we're not going to put it back out there. It's just going to turn around and be stolen. So what is on Oswald's grave, appropriately, I guess, is just a simple block with the name Oswald. And it's not in the locator in the cemetery. They won't precisely tell you where Oswald is in the cemetery. You have to ask where Nick Beef is. You heard me say that right. Nick Beef. Because that's the headstone next to Oswald. And what's super funny about that is that nobody, let alone anybody named Nick Beef, nobody is buried next to Oswald. Okay, you can go look this up. I'm not making stuff up. You can find this on the internet. Nick Beef is a fake name or joke name. This guy, and I don't remember all the details of the story. Guy he just lucks out and he buys the plot next to Oswald when nobody's paying attention. And orders a headstone named Nick Beef as an inside joke to himself, basically, and puts it there on the plot next to Oswald. Nobody's buried there. But that's how you find Lee Harvey Oswald. True story. Look that up. This picture is me standing on Elm Street at the approximate point of the second X. You can't quite see it in the picture, but I'm basically standing on it. This is not new. Many people have done this. It's just that it was a big moment for me. Please allow me some personal catharsis for having talked about it for 2 years and then finally being able to do it. The other thing was and I don't have that picture because I guess I'm horrible at making slideshows. I climbed up on the plinth, the concrete plinth where Zapruder stood and shot his film. So I stood there, and I was live on TikTok at the time, and rambunctious. It was, man, fun's not the right word. Fun is not the right word. Although it was fun, but it was more than that. It was spiritual is not the right word. Overwhelming is in the mix there somewhere. I don't know. I don't know if there's a word. Somebody needs to invent a word for. You talk about going to a place and talk about a subject and get super interested and learn everything you can about that subject, and you've seen thousands of pictures, and the pictures are, it pretty representative. Like I could have stood in the middle of the street and turned around and pointed, virtually speaking, and named every single aspect and like who was standing where and all of that. But until you're actually there, boots on the ground, it's hard to put into words. Eerie is certainly one of the words. Breathtaking, somber, sober. I was excited to have achieved the goal, and then the longer you're there, the sort of empty and ghostly it feels. And when I was there, it was a Thursday. It was actually a nice sunny day on Thursday, and I was at the museum right at 10 when it opened, and that was good for a couple of hours. And I walked up and down the street several times, back and forth. And this was all before going on the Oswald escape tour, where we timed ourselves walking down to where he caught the bus, and then where he got off the bus and caught the cab, and then ended up in the Texas Theater. Like I did all of that. But in Dealey Plaza, man, it's pretty amazing. Can't zoom in on that. No, I don't want to edit. Ugh. Okay. John Jenkins says photo enhancement shows Oswald stood in ground floor doorway of depository at time of shooting. That's not correct. That person's name was Billy Lovelady. And this is a thing that is much debated. But basically, Billy Lovelady is detained, and, the day after comes in and says, "No, it was me. I was standing right there." And the reason I know this is because my friend so and so and so and so were all with me. Were there in a group that can all vouch for me, and they all did. Nobody thinks it was Oswald standing in the doorway. At least in 1963, that idea is an example of just suggestive placement. Yes, I agree. He's got a resemblance with, especially with the height and weight and build and hairline, even of Lee Harvey Oswald. But you know, he had the shirt. Of course, he comes in to be questioned the next day, but he's wearing a different shirt. But then he goes back and he says, "All right, here's the shirt. You can see the shirt. This is not at all what anybody thinks Oswald was wearing that morning into work." So no, afraid not. Oh, Gen X, man. Hey, you're late. You're late because I did a whole 5-minute rant on that. My thoughts on Trump's executive order to release the remaining documents. Trump can issue an executive order if he wants, but my thoughts are the CIA doesn't have a very good track record of complying with anything. So those are my thoughts. see, Trump, he was like, release all the files in 2017, and the CIA was like, nope, not going to do it. And then he dropped it. That was it. The files weren't released. So we'll see, right? And that's what my live event on February 7th is about, and I hope that you'll join us then. It's in my profile. It's in the pinned video, the first pinned video on my page. You can register for a reminder of when that live. So look, all we're going to do is we are going to find out what the plan is. And we'll know what the CIA's plan to do is in a week. Okay, Peter James, good to see you again. You're a loyal watcher. He's seen the records. If you mean if by he you mean Trump, possibly, but for sure Mike Pompeo has seen some things, and other people have seen the files, even in their redacted, that is blacked out state. We know what are in some of the files. And when I got started on this live about an hour ago, how long has it been? We know some of the things that are in the unclassified files. So we have a litmus test, if you will, as to whether everything is being released or not. And the foremost of those is the George Joannides file. George Joannides needs to be, that file contains 44 classified documents. And that is a file that needs to be among the first released. That's an important one. That's one that we really need to see. And the rest of it may not. Here's what I don't. The JFK files are not going to do. I don't believe that they're going to name a second shooter. So I don't even have my hopes up for that. I'd be happy to see anything released. But whatever it is, we'll find out what the plan is on February 7th. Norman, why are you typing in all caps? Like, I'm Gen X and even I know not to do that. Guys, my back is hurting. Okay, 8:30 on a Sunday night. Months of new content, that's correct. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Melissa, I think Garrison was onto something, and I think that he got a bad rap. I don't think he was correct about everything, but I definitely think he was on to, and because of him now, he really sort of started this whole thing that resulted in Oliver Stone's movie, and then Congress passing a law in 1992. And that was Garrison. People need to read as many of the files as they can and see for themselves instead of just watching TikTok videos. You know, I'm not an expert. I just read as much as I could and listened to people who were verified experts. If I can distill some of that down for you in this format, that's great. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. But yeah, anyway. Okay, folks, thank you for the likes, the follows, the shares, the hearts. Please don't forget to register for the live event on February 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And, Bo, you keep right on answering questions. But we'll have to do it in the comments because I need to get out of this chair. Thank you, Cindy Wade. Thanks to everybody. And stay sharp out there. We're going to see what happens in a week.